What up? You know what time it is. It's RJ Fantasy Football Talk, and we back. Football is almost here. We got a strong weekend is coming
Yes.
up. Gosh, man, it's gonna be so great. It's great times this year, man. I'm ready to go. I've been talking football with people. Been talking football with my brother over here. Hey, man, what we doing? What's going on, man?
Hey, what's going on? I'm doing all right. Like you said, it's drafting time. We've had a few preseason games to look at. People are declaring who their starters, quarterbacks are. We'll talk about some of those rookie people. So, hey, this is
Yeah,
actually our last show we're going to do for the off-season shows. So we'll be off again next week, and then we hit it every week because that'll be the start of the NFL season. So, hey, let us know in the comments if you've got questions about your drafts because we had a couple of them, you and I,
yeah,
already. Well,
yeah.
I've had a couple. I think you've
I
had
have
one.
one.
I've had a few dynasty drafts, but this weekend is where the action
Whew.
starts. We got a full slate because we have one Saturday, one Sunday, and Monday. So we have 3 straight days of
Actually, no,
multiple drafts. You
I
have
got
multiple
two.
ones on the
I got
weekend.
two Saturday, one Sunday, one Monday.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's about to be crazy because it's go time. And then I probably got another one the day before the first game of the year. So it's probably that Wednesday. So I'll be drafting on the show again this year because that's what our friend loves to do. He loves to draft
Yeah.
late in the year. So I ain't mad at him because you avoid injuries and drafting guys, things of that nature. But I'm good with it. I mean, I'm used to it. So, and actually, I feel like I did well last year drafting online, drafting while I was doing the show.
Yeah,
So,
you did draft live, and
it's
hey,
so
you can
it
get
worked
that.
for me.
I thought I was gonna be doing a draft because I have one. They ended up making it, I think, September 2nd.
Okay.
I think this is my last draft of this. I think I'm in one. I was in 9 leagues last year. I think that's gonna get down to 8 this year. So
What happened?
y'all bet. I don't know.
What happened?
Look, inactive commissioners.
Oh, okay.
So,
Man.
but I'm not mad at it because I was like, okay, that'll give me a little more time to focus. So y'all better be
Hmm.
ready because I'm gonna do what I do. Welcome, Orlena Lewis. Hello, hello. Welcome to the show. I know they are getting the women's fantasy football league together, so they have a draft coming up sometime, and I don't know when it is. I heard, but I don't remember.
Oh
Let me see.
yeah.
Lift
Well,
my
we got
brother up. So
I think yeah, we got some coming up, but it's gonna be crazy though. I got six. I'm in six leagues this year, so I think I'm sticking with six. I think that's a good number for me with everything I got going on. But six is a good number.
yeah,
I tried to scale it
six.
down to five, but we'll see.
Yeah, six isn't bad. Five is
Yeah.
good. We've got the third man watching. It's good to have you, Shaq. Hey, you have 2 weeks to prepare because the R&J Fantasy Football Talk season starts with our bold prediction show, and that's in two
And you
weeks. We
got to
need
be
our
there.
third man with us live so he can give all his predictions as well, and then talk about mine being bad like he normally does. And Jamal with us as well. Hey, same thing. Need you for the bold prediction show as well because you are the one that believes in hope, unlike this guy over here on my side.
He believes in hope.
He
He
has
believes in hope.
hey, not to wax too political, but I don't know if you saw the Democratic National Convention. Michelle Obama was speaking yesterday. She said the era of hope is back. I thought about my man Jamal, and I was like, hey, that must be a sign to go for these young
uh,
guys
I
because
guess,
they
man. I don't know. I don't know
bringing
about
hope to
that.
your fantasy football teams.
I guess if you want
The,
to say that, that
yeah,
hey, you can live on that dream, but I ain't living on that dream. I've been playing this game too long to be trying to live on hope. So no, hey, but I mean, to each his own though. Everybody can do their own thing, so I ain't mad at them. But everybody got their own way of drafting. So
yeah.
what's going on, Will Hayes? How you doing,
Will,
man?
good to have you on the show as well. Hey, let us know about your drafts. What you got lined up as well. Yeah, Jamal, youth wins. especially in dynasty. In redraft,
Yeah, Dan.
but I
Redraft.
will
That's a
say
little.
this: if you don't have youth on your redraft teams, you're missing out because you need those fill-in guys. So I look forward to these bold, and I've been trying to tell y'all I have some bold predictions for y'all covered this year. So if you think my bold predictions were bad before, they're about to be
Oh
bolder
gosh,
and badder.
jeez. I mean, it's been bad for both of us over the
Yeah,
last year, I guess.
yeah. You
Without
you
them both
worked out a
predictions,
little bit better than I have though.
not by much. I tell
Not
you
by
that. Boy,
much.
my
No,
boy,
no, no.
not by much.
Yours are bad.
My,
Your percentage is
yeah,
bad also, but
yeah. My bold predictions be wild sometimes, boy. It never works for me though. So hey, it's okay though. Got any news today, man?
we do have some news. But before we do hit some of these questions, for instance, our third man saying he's getting robbed. I think that's his. Hey,
Yeah.
hold up, wait.
You see the office.
I see you got off what you got offered. That's the penalty of being in a super flex league without enough quarterbacks. But yeah, you don't want any of those guys. Sam Darnold, though, because speaking of news, Sam Darnold might actually end up being a good pick for this year with JJ
No,
McCarthy being out all year.
no,
He's throwing to Justin Jefferson.
no,
Now I wouldn't give up Bijan Robinson for him, like not even a little bit.
no, not even.
Not even a little bit. But hey, hope Shaq, I was trying to help you out with a dynasty pick, but Antonio Pierce didn't work with us, and he made Gardner Minshew the starters because I was gonna
Yeah.
look out for you, but it is what it is. Asking the question, we were actually talking about this right before the show started. In regarding NFL news, the Cincinnati Bengals and Jamar Chase contract. What you think?
He wants what the rumor going
Uh,
around is he wants $40 million a year and he wants $120 million guaranteed. He wants 160 a year. Well, 160 over 4 years. That's crazy. First of all, um, I don't know why he wants that much money.
you
That's
don't want
way
that
more.
much money?
I mean, I'm not saying not
Yeah.
only do you,
Like I
but I'm
know
just
why he
saying.
wants it. I don't know why he thinks he's gonna get it, but I know
Well,
why he
I
wants it.
think
Yeah.
he feel like he's right there with Jefferson, and he has an argument. They're both right there, in my opinion, together. But $40 million a year,
That's
jeez. Whew. I mean, I don't know, man.
yeah.
I think they pay him, but his this is the thing with Chase.
Mhm.
Chase got 2 years left on his deal, so Chase kind of don't. I ain't gonna say he don't have a leg to stand on, but he's hoping the fact that they don't win games early,
Yeah.
and he gets paid that way. But one problem they have is they got Higgins, and that's
Higgins is gone, I think.
well, Higgins is gone,
Yeah.
but they have Higgins for this year
Yeah.
to win games. So I think even if you come from a perspective of we got Higgins, and we seen Higgins when he was there by himself without a Chase.
Yeah.
We see he was productive. Now, my question for you, sticking with that scenario, is because it is draft time. Draft is this weekend. We got a bunch of them. Um, if you know walking in the draft that is no Chase and possibly no Chase for a while, do you bump Higgins up in the draft and kind of take that over certain people, being that he's the bona fide number one right now as we speak? Or do you say, you know what, I'm gonna take a chance with Chase and that he comes back?
All right. I'm gonna take your question and I'm gonna extrapolate bigger meaning for all of our audience out there who may
Okay.
not be in the Jamar Chase. And the question is, how do you handle? Because and I see Brandon Ayuk mentioned in the comments. How do you handle these contract disputes? And I see CD Lamb coming up in
Hmm.
the discussion. There's a lot of players out there that are holding out for contracts. How do
Yes.
you, as a fantasy football player, handle these different situations? Speaking specifically to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins,
Hmm.
T. Higgins did not impress last year. Uh, in a lot of cases, he eventually got right, but remember T. Higgins started off really poorly
Yeah.
last year. But we also can balance that with the fact that Joe Barrow wasn't there a lot of last
That's
year,
that's true
and when he
too.
was there, he was hurt. So I boost T. Higgins a little bit higher than I normally would. But I would
Okay.
still take if I'm at a draft board, I still take Jamar Chase before I take T. Higgins. I think there is enough of a significant gap between the two as far as their players. T. Higgins is not going to ask for this kind of contract because T. Higgins isn't, I mean, as good as T. Higgins has been, he's not that
Mm-hmm.
kind of guy. I think that can try to demand and think you can get anything close to that kind of guaranteed money. So T. Higgins to me,
Well,
I,
because
I, I
what
yeah,
I'm saying is, okay, think about it this now. If you know Jamar is going to sit out 6 games,
uh huh.
is that a wasted pick
I hope.
if you draft if you draft and chase that high, knowing that he may sit out those
Well,
whatever games?
I also dropped Jamar Chase as well as some of these other guys. I probably don't. For the harder one is CeeDee Lamb because right now CeeDee
Yes.
Lamb is like number two wide receivers, number one in some people's books. Do you draft
Mm-hmm.
him not really knowing what that situation is going to be? Uh, I'm kind of scared, but I still probably go for some of these guys. Uh, Jamar Chase right now is being drafted Fantasy Pros ADP like the fifth wide receiver on the list. T. Higgins is a bit lower than that.
Okay.
So going back to him, I think I gambled. It's sort of like a not quite to the extent of what do you do with like an injured guy like a T.J.
Yeah.
Hawkinson or a Nick Chubb. They're gonna all go a bit lower, but at the same time, if they're gonna play half a season, that half a season they give you can win you a fantasy league.
Yeah. On
Can
the
get
back
you,
end, definitely.
yeah,
On
it
the
can
back
get you
end,
as long as
definitely.
they're
Yeah.
playing that back, like you said, that back end. I still think they're worth. These are the kind of guys that are worth the gamble,
Okay.
and you probably overpay a little bit more for them. But I definitely try to make sure if you're gonna do that, especially if you're gonna spend like a for Jamar Chase or CeeDee Lamb, it's gonna cost you a first round pick.
Of course.
You better doggone cover yourself. On the other
That.
hand,
Yeah.
I was like,
That.
all right,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go high on this pick, but I'm gonna have to follow it up with somebody that's gonna guarantee be playing week one. So that's kind of the way I would balance that. Welcome. We got Carla Blackman joining us. We got Catherine Bracy. Uh, other member, we mentioned the Women's Fantasy Football League. We got quite a few of them going up there. While we're talking to these people in their contracts, I go back to this comment from our third man. Ayuk's not getting paid, according to him. We were talking about that before the show as well. What's your
Yeah.
Brandon Ayuk thoughts? It's crazy to me that we've been talking about Brandon Ayuk literally
Yeah.
this entire off season and still don't know.
Well,
What's your thoughts? Our
I
49ers
think
expert.
it's crazy. I really don't know at this point. I know they said they offered him a contract of 4 years, 30 million a year,
Yeah,
but I think the last year is the problem. I think most of it is not guaranteed, or they have an out somewhere in that fourth year. I don't know at this point. I don't think they really want to pay him past year 2 of
yeah.
any contract because they want to be able to get out of a contract
Uh,
after that point because other people need to get paid. Well, one person needs to get paid. So they want to kind of because you got this year and then you got next year. Well, you got this year to take care of because Brock's only making 885,000 this year. Then next year you can kind of start that contract talk with him. So they're looking at that. Well, we got to leave room for this guy, and this guy, and then try to pay these guys. We got 43 free agents next year. So trying to squeeze a $30 million guy in, they really don't want to do it. That's why they're trying to get out of it at a certain amount of years.
yeah.
I don't know. I'm hearing rumors that he could get traded to Pittsburgh like the day before the season start. I don't know what's going on, to be honest with you. Because Trent Williams want money, so that got a lot to do with it. So I don't know. I don't know. It's crazy to me. I'm just ready for it to be over, honestly. Um, I feel like we need him because a lot of our receivers can't get separation at all. If you watch the last preseason game, them guys,
I'm gonna
boy,
replace a lot of our receivers and say all of your wide receivers.
yeah, they can't get separation
Yeah.
for nothing. So we kind of need him, but I don't know. It At this point, I had a feeling he was going to Pittsburgh, but I don't know at this point now. So I don't know. I
Well,
gotta wait and see.
it going staying on this general part. Another thing that's came out sort of this week is owners, GMs are kind of getting annoyed with the situation with everybody holding
Mm-hmm.
out every couple of years. As a fantasy owner, I'm frustrated by it too, but I can't I care less than they do because it's not my actual money.
Oh
But they're saying these
god.
guys need to honor their contracts. Are you gonna side with the owners or the players on
Uh,
their
we had this
demands?
conversation
Yeah,
offline. And like I was telling you, I feel like they should go to what the NBA does. The NBA does a thing where
mm-hmm.
the first year, like say you win Defensive Player of the Year or you make an All Star game, that would allow you to gain more money on a
Mm-hmm.
contract because it's like if you go back to Derrick Rose where he won the MVP, he was the All Star MVP and whatever he went to the All Star game. So those years added up, and by year 2 or 3, he was able to get a new contract. What the owners are saying is you're because when you get drafted, they have a set fee on
Yeah,
what you can make for the first 4 years, even going to that fifth year. So they have a set fee. They already know what you're going to be making. Because I remember back in the day, you didn't have that with quarterbacks, especially when Michael Vick came out. He got paid buku money in that first year, but then they put in a structured deal to make these guys pretty much say, "Look, this is what you're gonna get." At the end of the day, I think they should do something
cool.
similar to the NBA
Mm-hmm.
and kind of gradually, if these guys are good over the first 2 3 years, then you kind of know what their pay scale would be and do it that way. So that's what I would do. But they saying, look, you need to honor these 5 years, even though you getting 1,800 yards a year, you still making this $14 million because Chase is only making, which is crazy,
Yeah.
like $2 million this year, bro. It's like 2 million, 2 point something $1 million this year.
Here's what really fixes this problem, and it is going back to your NBA analogy or baseball. They have guaranteed contracts, and
Yeah,
so you add guaranteed contracts, you don't have the need to hold on. Jamar Chase is getting a little bit of money this year, but he's gotten paid bigger amounts others. So they get their money front loaded because basically in the NFL your contract's not worth the paper it's written on. Because
nope.
while they're mad at the players for holding out and not honoring their contracts, these owners will cut you in a heartbeat. You
Yep.
know what I'm saying? Just to get out of that contract. Hey, they end up having to pay him anyway because he has so much guaranteed money. But Russell Wilson should still be with Denver if people honored their contracts
That
and
is
people
true.
did what they were supposed to do. So in general, I tend to go on the player side just
Me too.
because stick it to the man. But when the man is also a multimillionaire, you know, they're both working out better than. I want to stick up for the fans because I'm trying to get these NFL game tickets, and my game ticket prices keep going up. So I don't care for any of them. But
well, my thing
yeah,
is, I ride with the players on this one.
yeah,
I feel like because the game has changed so much,
yeah.
it's such a receiver heavy game at this point. Like me personally, I don't think CD should touch the field until he get paid.
Nah.
Because think about it, if CD get hurt this year, right? He goes out there, gets hurt, tears the ACL. His value plummets so bad next year because they're gonna say, well, look, you ain't no good to us with a torn ACL, so we can't really do nothing for
Uh
you.
huh.
Same thing with Chase. Chase is making 2 point something $1 million this year. If he gets hurt this year, his value, even though Chase has produced
Plummets.
in the year before,
Uh
it
huh.
still goes down if he gets hurt. So I feel like you should never touch the field. And with
Oh yeah.
Ayuk should, me personally, if I'm Ayuk, I ain't touching the field. Because for what I did with the little bit of catches and the targets that I got this year, and I know other teams are valuing me higher, I wouldn't get on the field.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because his situation is different though, because he watched everybody else get paid.
Yeah.
And that's the issue they have there. Everybody else got paid, and he's saying,
It's
"Why
my
y'all,
time.
why y'all
Why are we
doing me
dragging
like
our
that?"
feet?
Yeah, and
Hmm.
that's his situation is totally different though.
So put these players in order of their importance or priority for paying them. Trent Williams, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, Brandon Ayuk.
I'm gonna say CD first
I
because the
agree.
Cowboys need him.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say Trent second,
I agree with that one too.
Chase third, Ayuk fourth.
Let's see. I'm 100% with you on the first two. CD and Trent Williams, I think, are the most important ones.
Mm-hmm.
Chase and Ayuk is kind. Okay, for me, Chase and Ayuk, it depends on who's actually paying them. If it's the team they're currently on, I would say Jamar Chase first, Brandon Ayuk
I mean,
second.
you're assuming
If
that
I yeah,
you're assuming that it's the team that he's
if I
on.
assume if
Yeah,
Brandon Ayuk is going to go somewhere else, like Pittsburgh,
Pittsburgh. Yeah.
I think it's a bigger priority for Pittsburgh to pay Brandon Ayuk. Just because of the fact of, have you seen these preseason games for the
Oh
Steelers?
yes.
Russell
Now,
Wilson and Justin Fields played the entire game and put 3 points on the board. And I like George Pickens, but Brandon Ayuk changes that entire offense. The Arthur Smith is saying that he was holding them back. Okay,
I agree with you, but I feel
yeah,
like Chase, because I'm
mm-hmm.
from an organization standpoint, right? Ayuk is not as important in their eyes as Chase is to the Bengals. And what I mean is
Okay,
when you got Debo, Christian McCaffrey, Kittles, and all these other players there,
right,
Trent Williams and all these other guys, Brock Purdy, they feel like he is just he whatever he puts in is extra. Is not what they
you
need, and
mean
they value.
Ayuk is
Yeah,
the extra for
he's the
okay,
extra. Yeah. So they saying basically Debo is more important than Ayuk, when really in turn should be Ayuk is more important than Debo, just because of what he can do down the field. Yes, nothing taking nothing away from Debo. He's explosive with the ball in his hand. But if you ask him to run a go route, he
right,
can't do it. So it's like you asking two different players to do two different things. Ayuk makes teams. I feel like Ayuk will make Pittsburgh a lot better
yeah,
because you can't double coverage Pickens and you can't double coverage Ayuk. So you got to pick one. So and then whoever's that third receiver, they gonna get open because people are paying attention to the other two receivers.
yeah.
So
And that's kind of
that's
why
what
I
I
said the source of the funds. Like I'm with you because the 49ers have had the best roster in the NFL on paper, at least,
yeah
probably at least the last three
for
years,
yeah
maybe more than that. Uh, so I can see them getting by this season without Ayuk, which is why I don't understand why they haven't worked this thing out yet. If they think he's the fourth option, they should have been traded him a long
yeah
time ago, right? Uh, if it's the Steelers, Ayuk, I think automatically becomes the best player on that roster,
of
and
course
I'm not
I
even.
would agree with you on
And
that
and
definitely.
and I and hey, I like some of the Steelers. We both said that the Steelers are doing some good things.
Yeah.
They have it. Hey, they make the playoffs when they probably shouldn't, and I think that's a lot of coaching. But there's some talent on that team. But you add Ayuk, at least offensively. Maybe on the defense, you can make the case for some other players. But on the offense, Ayuk is instantly the best player they have. So for them, I think it's a high priority to get a deal done. We'll see
Well, and
whether
honestly,
it happens.
Pittsburgh from a defensive standpoint has always been good.
Yeah,
That's their pedigree. They're always going to be good on defense. But you never. And the thing is, like when you talk, like if you talk to somebody or you listen to somebody, they'll say, "Well, Pittsburgh never pays for a player like this. They never do this. They draft receivers from the
yeah,
draft and they homegrown them. That's how they build a receiving core."
that's true.
But that is true. But I find it weird that now they're doing it this way to offer, which by all means, hey, if they offer him 29, $30 million, I think he should take it. But you don't normally see Pittsburgh do things like this, so they must
They
value him at
they
a
they
high
they
value.
they value him, and they also are virtually getting two quarterbacks for free. With,
Yeah, that is true.
Denver
That's
still
true.
playing, Denver is still paying Russell Wilson and
And
Justin Fields. They got for costs. They don't have a lot of money thrown at a quarterback. They might as well throw that kind of money at a wide receiver who can make their mediocre quarterbacks look better. So
and I honestly think this is I don't think this is a even like just hypothetically if they got at you, the quarterback situation for me is not about this year. To
Yeah,
be honest with you, because think about it now, if neither one of them guys probably not going to be on the team next year. They're probably going to let Russ walk. They're probably going to let Fields, unless Fields comes
I'm about
out
to
and
say
just does something.
Russell Wilson. I'm with
Absolutely,
you 100%.
yeah.
Justin Fields, I think they want to impress them.
They
We'll
want, but
see.
if he
They want
doesn't,
him to, but if he doesn't, yeah,
I think they're going to be in the market for a quarterback next year,
agreed.
preferably named probably Dak, who's going to be there. I mean, but even going to the draft at that
Yeah,
point of drafting a quarterback, that may be their go-to because you're going to have basically two receivers that's making a bunch of money because you got Pickett's coming up too,
yeah,
and you're gonna have to pay him. So you got basically it's gonna be a Philadelphia type of situation where you're gonna have like an AJ Brown and I keep never thinking his boy name
Devontae
for some
Smith.
Devontae Smith making big money at the receiver position.
Hmm.
So at the end of the day, both of them are gonna kind of garner a lot of money, and you still got a quarterback making a lot of money. But I think they can either go that route, but it really depends on what Field does. If Fields comes out and play ball and does what he can to earn that spot,
Yeah.
you still ain't paying Fields a lot of money anyway. Not the $50 million that you would pay any other quarterback. You
Hmm.
might pay him $25-30 million and save there and still be able to get the Pickens to sign him and still have a you on board. So we'll see. It just depends on how this thing shake out. But as far as like CD has to be signed
Yeah.
because they
I
have
think that's
nothing else there.
if you're gonna go in with Brandon Cooks as your best wide receiver,
Oh,
and
you're in trouble.
we like Brandon Cooks, but
Yeah,
hey, he's getting longer in the tooth,
that's true.
and Dak is, in a lot of people's opinions, only so to begin with. I think he's
Hmm.
probably a bit better than people give him credit for, but him throwing to Brandon Cooks and Tolbert, who else is there?
There ain't a lot there.
Yeah, it's
There's
not a
not a
lot
lot there.
there, so
Nah,
they need to work on CD Lamb getting paid. Are you a little bit put off by Jerry Jones
I don't
not
know.
not having a sense of urgency to get this deal
I
done,
don't
especially
know
if you
what's
have
going.
CD Lamb on your fantasy football teams like a third man does?
Honestly, I feel like I don't know what Jerry's doing, bro. I think Jerry is. I hate to say
Past
it, but
his
Jerry's
prime.
old.
Mm-hmm.
He's old, and I think Jerry need to because he's still in that owner, GM, president, vice president, whatever he is.
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty much everything. I think you need to kind of hand it over to competent people that can run the team now
Yeah.
because he thinks like on a one track mind, like we can wait. Like you make a statement and say, I ain't in a hurry to pay CD. But then you turn around and say, you know what, I lied. We are in a hurry to pay CD now. We got to pay him now. After he scrubbed this whole Instagram and all this other stuff. And I'm thinking like, maybe somebody else need to be running the team. Maybe he need to hire somebody like a real GM. I mean, I don't know how well his sons run the team, but can't
Yeah.
be running it that well because I'm pretty sure they're in somebody's ear saying that. But Jerry need to pass that torch, man, because that is not what you want running your team at this point. Because Jerry gonna run that team into the ground. Little do you know, he ain't
Yeah.
gonna have nothing there.
Many years ago, I said that Jerry Jones really wants to be Al Davis, and
Is that a,
Al Davis worked for a while. He was one of the best owners ever. But towards that end, that that older end of his tenure,
yeah,
it won't pretty.
more pretty.
And what we're seeing with the Dallas is the Al Davis not
2.0,
being pretty and 2.0.
2.0.
So we gonna
Yeah,
see
so
how that one goes. If I going back to if I have these players, I'm a little bit concerned. But CD Lamb probably has me the most concerned
yeah.
because, like I said, other than maybe Tyreek Hill, there's not a wide receiver going ahead of him, and that's some heavy draft stock.
So speaking of CD, do you kind of scale back from Dak with no CD?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. What
Uh,
about Barrow?
Joe Barrow, I'm scaled back to begin with. I know Joe Barrow burnt me one time too many in fantasy football. So he's
Okay.
already gone back a few spots for me. But without
Okay.
Jamar Chase, I don't. They already are gonna be missing Tyler Boyd because they lost him
Him too.
in
Yeah.
free agency. So they
Mhm.
just a couple of years ago were known as having the best threesome of wide receivers in the league.
I know more.
Maybe just down to one for at least to
Yeah.
start the
That's
season.
crazy.
Uh, I put Joe Barrow back further than I did before.
Okay.
And he was already, like I said, he for me was no longer in the top five. He used to be in the top
Mm.
five of quarterbacks. I still have him in my top 10, kind of reluctantly,
Okay.
because of what I think he can be.
But you
But
scared of the
I'm
injuries.
scared of the injuries. I'm scared of
Okay.
this Jamar Chase situation. I had the 8 pick. We were talking before. I had the 8 pick in that gridiron league where
He
quarterbacks
might
are highly
he might
valued.
fall to you.
So Joe Barrows would be around that area.
He'll fall to you.
If you're asking me today, am I going with it?
No.
Maybe. I gotta
No.
feel this. Look, I gotta get the Buffalo Wild Wings. Hey,
Okay.
smell the sauces, and then
Okay.
let
Okay.
them be my guide. So we'll find out what happens this weekend. But if you
Mm.
ask me today, there's some quarterbacks in the back end I probably prefer to Joe Barrow just because of this situation.
So
Yeah,
has question for you. Has
what you
any
got?
since we've been watching preseason football, has any player, rookie, veteran, whoever, has any player changed your mind about drafting them, not drafting them, where you draft them? Have that changed your mind a little bit?
The biggest change for me as far as these this pre because it's hard to sometimes gauge for the
Yeah.
preseason because people only play the amount of time they're given, especially the starters. Sometimes they say, okay, we're gonna do our starters, and they do a series, so you can't really get a good grasp
Yeah.
on some of them. The biggest mind changer for me of the players I've seen so far, and it's not in a good way.
Okay.
Is in fact, I'm gonna give you one good. I'm gonna give you one bad in the same
Okay.
situation. I wasn't huge on Drake May, but I was a believer in the fact of he should be a legitimate starter because
Mhm.
this the Caleb Williams, who by the way I've loved in this preseason. There's Jaden Daniels, who I've also loved in there, and then Drake May was supposed to be that third guy. I was like, maybe, maybe not. And so, but I was like, but given my options and how I felt, like I think I mentioned before, JJ McCarthy. I was like,
Mhm.
I think he's a project. I don't really like him that first year, except for the fact that he's
Mhm.
throwing to Justin Jefferson, but that's out the window. I didn't like Bo Nix at all, uh,
Yeah.
and that's going to be my second part of this question.
Okay.
And so I thought Drake May might be someone to target if you're in a two quarterback league. I'm not feeling that. He's had some moments, especially this last game, where he's like maybe
Head
uh,
scratchers.
head scratch, but for the most part, I'm probably gonna avoid him, and I
Okay.
recommend not
Okay.
going with that. I don't like that situation. I kind of like what they've done with some of the wide receivers there. They've
Mhm.
impressed me,
Oh, the wide receivers really have impressed me.
but I don't know if I'm impressed enough to give that hope to him.
Okay.
And flip it.
Mhm.
I've actually been a little bit impressed with Bo Nix. I don't believe in it still,
Woo!
but I
That
will
was that's
say
yeah. That,
I thought Bo Nix was like not even startable in fantasy football. I got him probably as of the rookie quarterbacks. I think I have
mhm.
him third, from what I've
Okay.
seen.
All right.
I'm not gonna, but it's preseason, right?
It's preseason.
It's
I mean,
preseason,
it's
so
vanilla of
like,
defenses. They're not really
yeah,
playing
it's
much.
like
Well, yeah, I get that part of it.
he's
Yeah.
looked better than I thought he would. Am I gonna still put him on my fantasy football team? I think Shaq should have. I say that, but
So
I'm still
because
not doing
I
that.
and for me with Bo Nix, right? You remember when Justin Herbert
Yeah,
got drafted, and originally he wasn't the starter. So
yeah.
does he put you in the mind of a Justin Herbert? like first year.
I can't elevate him that
No,
high.
no, 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 no. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is because you
But
know how Justin Herbert came out of
yeah, he came
nowhere
out of nowhere.
and
But
just
but
was
there,
like
there,
that
there
good.
was some people that had the belief, and in fact, I think Keith off the then wasn't he a big somebody in
Somebody
in
was
the
a Justin
barbershop
Herbert
was a
fan. I
really
can't
big
remember.
Justin Herbert fan. I can't remember exactly who it was. But I say this. Bo Nix should be good because, like he played in college for 47 years, right? You,
47 years.
you
He
would
played
think
for a long
he
time.
would have
Yes.
learned something. So I'm not completely surprised as how good he's looked in the preseason, but
Hmm.
I put the warning on it that Kenny Pickett looked good in the preseason
That is
uh,
true.
until
Man.
this year. This year, I don't know what happened.
Whew,
He looks
he
awful
might
this
get
year.
cut. Lord have mercy.
Well, they say they still have faith in him, and he's the second quarterback. I'm like, okay.
Okay.
I
All
I,
right.
I will say, I'm in two dynasty leagues, and
Mm.
I was heavy on Kenny Pickett those first 2 years when these startups happened. I am now officially out of the Kenny Pickett market altogether in all my
Good.
dynasty leagues.
I'm proud
Uh,
of you.
I
That's a
had
good
to I
job.
had to let him go. I bought him in to this season, but dropped him after these preseason watches. But yeah, that I'm on the right path now. But
Well,
I say this:
I
Bo Nix is the
mhm.
better option at quarterback than Jarrett Stidham or Zach Wilson. So he at least has job security if you're looking for that, and he might not be as bad as I thought he was
Stidham shouldn't even been pronounced the number one quarterback either.
ever.
Like either way, he shouldn't have been pronounced that. But one of them got to get cut, obviously,
Zach,
from that team. Stidham, Zach, whatever. I think it's gonna be Zach though.
yeah, Zach is it.
Um, even with Drake May, like me and you talked for the last couple of days, we talked, and I've told you my feelings about Drake May. I think Drake May is a product of that North Carolina Duke system, and those quarterbacks have not panned out well. If you think about it, like the
Yeah,
two that's already in the league, the Daniel Joneses and the Sam Howell, they are what backup. Well, one is a starter about to lose his job, and the other one is a backup.
yeah,
So they're not really good quarterbacks. I've said that it should have been, and I know people say, well, Brissett is there, and you want to kind of give, he's the veteran. I get it.
yeah. He's the
it
veteran.
but
I'm disappointed with his performance as well this preseason.
but for me, from what I've seen in Joe Milton, I think Joe Milton should have had a shot at either in that competition with Drake May to start because I think, yeah, he was playing against the third string, fourth string guys, but put him in a game against the first team or a little bit against the first team in the beginning to see what he can do. Because I think he's bigger than Drake
Yeah,
May. He got a bigger arm than Drake May, and he can run.
he's
So
more
he gives you,
athletic.
he's more athletic. He gives you a little bit more. Now, is Drake May gonna pan out? Probably not, in my opinion. Um, but for me, I was never gonna draft Drake May because I'm not a big rookie guy. I don't draft rookies like that. That's not my thing. Um, but it's one rookie though that I may think about drafting, and I'm
Jaden
willing to put.
Daniels.
No, not Jaden Days.
No, come on, you know you're a fan.
I'm not saying I'm not a fan.
You're a
That's not the
big
point
fan.
I'm trying to make. No.
So tell us
Worthy.
who this rookie is. This is the draft. This is our last chance to tell people advice before the
So
drafts.
I
So
think my
who's the
question for
rookie?
you, I'm gonna say Worthy.
Okay.
I'm gonna say Worthy is a guy that I feel like, and this is a bold, like kind of a bold statement. I say Worthy probably can fit in that offense,
Okay.
can finish probably top 15 in that offense with a Patrick Mahomes because you see, and I know it's preseason, but you see he's running with the ones,
Mm-hmm.
and you see he's getting that work with Patrick Mahomes, and they got a good rapport with each other. I mean, it's crazy. So he could be not worth a high pick, but if you got him mid round,
Oh yeah.
you probably got a steal.
I would put. I don't draft Xavier Worthy before probably around 7.
Yeah, yeah, around there,
But
7,
yeah,
8.
but he has. I think Xavier Worthy is going to be what a lot of people expected from Sky Moore a couple of years
Yes,
ago.
Oh yes.
He's got the speed, and I thought that's he can separate. He's a discount Tyreek Hill, and I think that's
Basically,
basically what they drafted him for.
yeah.
And I think that's a good pick. That's a good pick. I'm not really surprised by him doing well, just because when they made that pick, people were like, "Wow, I can't believe the Bills
Let
let
them
them
trade
get
up to
a,
get him.
let them get
That's what I
away."
was like.
Well,
I ain't understand that one.
like
Lord have mercy.
you saw what a disaster their wide receiver situation was a year
And you
ago,
let the Bills get that?
and then they're gonna just let the Chiefs get the new Tyreek Hill. So I'm glad that that's working out for
Yeah.
him. So yeah, I think that's a really good one. Since you brought up wide receivers, uh, I've been and I could be just because I'm so big on Caleb Williams. O'Doones, Romeo O'Doones, the Bears wide receiver. He's looked
Yeah,
really good. I still gotta fear the fact that he's behind DJ Moore and Keenan Allen. But
that is
hey,
true.
it wouldn't be the first year Keenan Allen missed a few games, right?
I,
So
I'll tell you this, Keenan
If
Allen, he
Romo
better not,
Dooms gets in that lineup consistently,
yeah.
yo, that's gonna be dangerous.
I tell you this, Keenan Allen better not miss no games. He better not
Shoot.
miss no games. He better stay healthy because if that boy get in the lineup, it's over.
Yeah,
He ain't gonna see the field no more. He'll be a third receiver because once he get on the field, and I ain't, I'm not the biggest Caleb fan, but the Dooms are like he gonna be something.
Dooms is a hey.
Oh yeah,
Okay, so Marvin Harrison is obvious everyone's first.
yes.
Malik Neighbors, are you still impressed with him despite the fact his quarterback
Oh
is
gosh.
awful?
Oh
Like no matter
gosh.
who the quarterback is.
No, no. See, but the problem is, it's too good. It's one good thing about that situation for him. They're gonna be losing, so they're gonna have to throw the football. That's the best part about that. The
Yeah,
bad part is Daniel Jones is throwing you football, and whatever they got behind him is even worse.
yeah.
So he should do fairly good numbers, but it's gonna be hard.
Well,
It's gonna be hard trying to get those numbers with that quarterback.
most people have those as the top two wide receivers. Who do you got? Well, first off, do you agree that the first top two? And secondarily, what's your next? Why is Xavier Worthy your next wide receiver as
I'm
far
gonna
as
tell
the
you
rookies
later.
are you looking for? Or just as another name on your list?
Marvin Harrison is obviously one.
Mm.
It is more about opportunity. Like to be honest with
And
you,
by the way, just to clarify, this is strictly redraft. We're not talking
redraft.
dynasty. Yeah.
So think about it is Marvin Harrison is going to get every opportunity at it is to be whatever the number one superhero there for Arizona. Worthy for me because Adula is not starting. He's not the number
Yeah.
one receiver because Worthy is Worthy and Rice, Rasheed Rice. That's it. Because Scott Moore ain't cutting in none of their touches. So you can kind of forget that. So I think it's funny. Worthy may slide to that number two. Malik Neighbors is going to get every opportunity too, but I just think his quarterback situation
Yeah, that's the
it's it's
only part.
it's bad to the point where it's gonna be he gonna probably put up decent numbers, but it's gonna be hard getting those decent numbers just because of the fact that Daniel Jones has looked horrible in practice against I forgot who they was playing in practice, but he looked terrible. He threw a bunch of picks, and even in preseason, Malik Neighbors was open and they couldn't get him the ball.
Yeah.
So it's like you feel bad for him. He shouldn't have went there. Should have went to somebody else. So you feel bad for him, but I'm high on Worthy, and I think Worthy he could put up numbers this year. And y'all gave Patrick Mahomes pretty much a reincarnation of Tyreek Hill,
Yeah.
and you gave him Rashad Rice, who's already there, who's still good too. So he's not getting suspended. So if you think about it that way, he got two good receivers again.
Yeah.
Plus Kelsey. That's the scary part. But Worthy could be that number two rookie receiver at this point.
Okay.
Then you can say Malik Neighbors, and it just depends on if DJ Moore. Well, DJ Moore, I think is gonna be fine.
Yeah.
I just think, yeah, if Aduze's getting in the lineup, I think that's what you got to look for. So, and then I would say uh McConklin probably is another one because he's gonna get every opportunity because again
They don't have because
they don't have
they don't
nothing.
have a lot.
So
going
Yeah.
on at wide receiver out in San
And I'm
Francisco.
not saying draft these guys early. I'm saying draft
Oh
these
no,
guys round 8,
Marvin
9,
Harrison, you
10.
are gonna have to draft
Yes.
early. I think everyone else, you might
8.
see a Malik Neighbors. Would you go third round for? I wouldn't go that high. Fourth,
No, no,
fourth,
no.
fifth,
I
maybe
I
something
would
like that.
say fifth, somewhere fourth, fifth, and then everybody else is. I
And
don't
then
know if
everyone else falls way back for me.
yeah, Worthy is a little bit too high for. That's 6 is too high for him. 7 is too high. Um, it depends on, but also remember, it depends on how the draft is going too. You can sit here and say, don't draft this person till rounds 8, 9, 10,
But you
whatever.
got to see what.
But you got to see how the draft is going, how the draft is shaping up. If that's your opportunity to get that guy, you see what I'm saying? So it's like if, and I always believe in if it's somebody you want and that's the player you trying to target,
Uh huh.
you go get him. It's your draft at the end of the day.
Uh huh.
You ain't drafting for nobody else. You drafting for yourself, and that's who you want on your team. Like me and Jamal get into it all the time about young guys with veterans, but Jamal has a way of drafting, and that's the way Jamal drafts. So at the end of the day, that's what he wants. That's what he gonna go get, and he gotta live with that at the end of the day. So can't be mad at nobody that thinks that way.
Since you started there, let's go down that line. Uh, uh, this is the last time we're gonna be on the air before most people have their drafts. Then
Mm.
we're coming back right before the season starts. What is your top advice to give the people as they head into their drafts?
I
You
mean, just
said
go
draft,
in.
go get your guy. What else you
I
got
mean,
for them?
like if you've been drafting forever, you've been playing fantasy forever, like me and you, we always we got a strategy. And one thing you need to learn is
Strategy.
learn the people you play with.
Yeah.
That is the most important thing about all of this. Because if you've been in the league for like for me and you, we've been playing fantasy together for 12,
So, yeah.
13, something like that. Long time, basically.
Probably 17 years or so.
17 years, I
Yeah,
think.
about
Yeah.
16 to 17 years.
So I want to say it's been that long, which is
Yeah.
crazy. Jeez. Um, so like him, like for instance, like Jay would tell me when I go to the board, he would tell me he's done this numerous of times. He would tell me, I know where you're going at, Rodney. And he'll give me a piece of paper, write it down, and it'll be the name. I'll look at it afterwards, but it'll be the name of the player that I actually go get. If you learn the people you play with, you know, okay, I know this guy.
Yeah.
He gonna take this player this year because he loves this player here. That is important to learn your mates that you play with. And another thing is just draft what you want to draft. I mean, going there, you got your board, you got your list of players that you targeting, but you also got to have some substitutes there in case those guys get gone. But you got your list and go in there and just do your own draft. Don't let nobody tell you where to go. Because if you let anybody dictate your draft, then you are doing it wrong in the beginning. You just got to do your draft only. Because that's the only way you're gonna know how to draft well anyway. Obviously, you're gonna make mistakes, people will get hurt, people that can perform well, but that's just gonna happen in fantasy. One like 90% of fantasy is luck. The other 10 is skill. Like seriously, because you got to work at it with that 10%. The other 90 is people playing well and not getting hurt. So that's my take on it. And just go in there and have fun, honestly.
Yeah.
And if you ever do a draft, do it live because it's more fun. To be honest with you. So
It can be with the right group, but if you don't
yeah,
want, but hey, I am a fan of online for the strict reason of doggone it, getting everybody together can be a challenge, especially
we
if
do
you
it every
have.
year.
We do it in that league,
We
and
do it every
look,
year.
I ain't gonna put people on blast, but you be breaking up happy homes, having people away from they anniversary spouses.
I do. That's the look. You know what? But I am considerate, and I ask people, "Hey, you know what date is good for you?" Man, you know it's my anniversary. Hey, man, I'm just saying it. We can work around it. Like, let me know. I have a guy. I got a guy in the league, Tron.
Yeah,
Every year,
yeah.
Tron's never there,
See,
but
you
that's
putting people
Tron's.
on. You
I mean, everybody knows Tron. They know who he
They
is.
know Tron.
Yeah, that's Tron's anniversary every year. So we work things out with Tron, and we make it kind of.
Yeah.
It's all about how you work it out with people at the end of the day. So,
Yeah.
but I do.
But being together in the room is a lot of fun. So I look forward to that part of the draft every year. Except for when you have to draft for like half the league over the phone.
Oh,
And that's
that's
the part I
me.
had to get away from.
That's me. So I draft, but I pop Skype up on the computer real quick and put everybody on Skype, and y'all can just listen to it, and y'all can look at the board and tell me what you want, because I ain't about to keep calling y'all. So it's hard when you got to do that, when you got to get guys together, but I think it's worth it though, because it builds camaraderie with people, and people get to know each other better when they're in the room with somebody.
And that's my biggest thing about fantasy football is after it's all said and done, have fun with it
Yeah.
at the draft and carry that over to the season. Because if you're not having fun with it, why are you playing? We're not. We fortunately don't have to worry about contract holdouts and everything. We can actually just have fun with the games. So hey, just like you said, you've done your research up to this point. Your draft is coming up. Trust what you researched, and worst case scenario, look, I tell you all the time, go with best available, because look,
Yeah.
if you don't know, then default to somebody who may have done the work before you. And hey, there's no shame in letting the computer think for you if you don't know what you're doing. So
that is true. But do you have any advice for? Let's say somebody's going into their first year playing fantasy.
Yeah.
What would you say to them? Because planning your first year playing fantasy is all, and it depends on league rules, but it's hard because it takes a lot to actually. I'm not cheating, bro. He said, "Oh my God!" But it takes a lot to understand how to play.
Yeah.
Because you take your bumps the first year, obviously. What would you give somebody walking in to a draft for their first year?
Your first ever draft.
Yes.
One, do your research before you get it. You do your prep for the draft before you even step in the room. You should have at least done. If it was the first year I did at least like 3 or 4 mock drafts, because you don't want to go in and this being your first time, especially if you're online, because you need to be familiar with the system.
System, yeah.
So don't let that, because we've had people
yes,
go in and be completely confused with this. So know what you're doing before you get there. Mock draft. I always have my notebook right here. This is the legendary notebook that will come out this weekend. I have my list of players. I have my plans. I've done my mock drafts, but read the room.
Don't forget your highlighters.
Oh, and my highlighters. Yes, I have my highlighters to go for. But the thing you need to learn in drafting is how to read the room, because you have a plan and you're looking at your sheet and you say, "Oh, this player's supposed to go." And you kind of alluded to this earlier. Be aware of what's going on in the room and how people are drafting, and adjust your plan. We have a friend of ours who walked into a draft for the first time. It wasn't their first time playing fantasy football, but it was the first time playing with these set of rules, because you have to know the rules for your league, because your league is different than any other league. And this guy had a plan, I guess. This is a 2 quarterback league. And sitting there watching everybody go quarterback. It gets to him. Instead of reading the room and seeing what's happening, he goes with, I think, a wide receiver.
I remember that. Oh my gosh,
that was so it goes back again. Quarterback. He does the same thing. Why would you see what's happening? I don't always get jumped up because you have runs on a position. I don't always get swept on them. But for certain positions, if you see all of them going, adjust your strategy and do it correct. This guy never played in that league again after that first year.
Yeah, he quit. He went 0 that first one. So he went 0-13, and I remember that day too, because I was like, I think you need to get a quarterback.
Yeah,
was like,
people were telling him, it's like, nah, I think I'm good.
I think I'm good. I was like, nah, I think you need to get a quarterback. And you know what's strange that day? That's the day, I want to say that's the same year that Tony Romo got hurt
Yeah,
and Dak came in. That was the same year,
that
and I
was
was
that
like,
year.
that was that year. That was which is crazy. Just thinking about that, I was like, bro, you have to take a quarterback. And I'm not the one to tell nobody what to do
Hey,
in a draft room
like you said,
because
it's your team. Do
it's
you?
your team. Because if you know me,
Yeah,
I am in a corner somewhere on my laptop, not talking to nobody, not even
you
budging.
talking to
My
me?
no, you'll pass
I'm,
me
I'm,
notes
I'm gonna
saying
make you talk to me.
no. So because I've started with a.
Yeah.
I remember I used to buy a book. I used to
Uh-huh.
buy the book. I started with a book, and I used to mark down stuff in the book. I graduated to a laptop, so I take my laptop to all my drafts. So I'm in the corner somewhere by myself, ain't even conversating with nobody, and I just sit back and I draft. Like I believe in war rooms. So my thing is, it's like the real NFL draft. Everybody got a war room. Everybody go to a corner. That's why when we do drafts, I go to a place where it's only us in a room somewhere with a door closed. And I try to do that for my
Shout out
guys.
to Buffalo Wild Wings again. We'll be
Yes.
there this weekend. Have a
So I
room
try to.
for us.
Oh, I got the room
I
already
know.
ready. Don't you worry. So I try to do that for my guys
Yeah.
because I want them to want to be comfortable.
And it
And
makes it
everybody,
more fun with us, we're not competing with everything else going on in the chaos of the restaurant. So,
yeah, it's funny because last year, we had we was at Hooters last year, and the guys that was drafting outside the room, they kept coming in and they kept looking at the board and they kept asking us
uh
questions. It was like, yo, get out. We don't want you here. So they was like, yo, how y'all get this room? Easy, we asked for it. Move out the way. Y'all intervening in our draft, man. What you do? He was like, how we get in this league, man? You can't get in this league.
one one of us on the show was a little bit rude. I'm more the nicer guy to talking to people, but
No, it wasn't me. It was one
but
of our friends that said, yo, you gotta get out the room, bro. Like, what you doing?
but
Like, you gotta go.
it's fun because we in the other side. This, I won't say this place because we're not going there. Where they had both. We remember we were in this small room when it was two different leagues drafted at the same time.
Oh, I hated that.
Madness. But what was it is interesting that common bond of fantasy football that you share with other people. So we're all looking at each other's boards and, nah, I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have done this thing. And that's the stuff you get in person that you can't get. Well, you can with the chat rooms, but
Yeah, but
but
it's different
but it's
when you're
different. It's
there.
a different vibe. It's a different thing.
I
Uh,
mean,
I think we
but
got. My mom said she has a plan. The plan is to win. Okay, she actually did better her second year than her first year, so we'll see how that goes. And I like Carla's comment that you don't draft a lot of players from your team.
that's the
Uh,
biggest rule,
yeah,
boy.
because you get swept away with your fandom, and it will lead you astray. I do try to get a few players from my team, but the Raiders aren't that good, so it makes it easy for me not to have too many of them. But yeah, you definitely want to watch out. One, because you're gonna get in trouble with bye weeks if you have
That's
everybody
one.
on your
Yeah,
team. Going to say. And the second, you might think a little higher of players on your team than you probably ought to, because they all might say, "Oh, they're gonna do this," and so your fandom gets in the way of rationality. I can
so
easily look at another team and say, "Oh, that player's not good." Where I might, cause I say one, Dylan Lobby is a running back for the Raiders. I have high expectations for,
well, then you
but
draft them
I did draft him. I
in a
tried to.
dynasty league.
And one of
Dynasty league.
another Raiders fan in our dynasty league beat me to it. But
Yeah.
we played another. He went in the eighth round of that dynasty league. But I played with the same guy in another dynasty league. I got him this time. I went in the seventh round, so I jumped ahead. So I did get Dylan in one of my dynasty leagues, but he's gonna be in the taxi squad because I do
Yeah.
have. I think he can be good, but I'm not
Yeah.
gonna blow.
You ain't gonna rush it.
I'm
No.
not gonna put too much stock in a player like in redraft. I wouldn't even think about getting them because
Now, do you have a limit? Like for me, I have a limit on players that I would draft from my team.
I don't have a numerical limit. I just have a limit on only draft the really good ones. And
Well, no,
so,
no, no.
like
I'm
I
not
said,
saying. So, for instance, like say you got four good ones.
oh, I've
Do you
never.
do you limit?
That's never been a Raiders experience.
Well,
I don't even know what you're talking about now.
I'm
Four good
sorry.
players?
My team got four decent
Yeah, yeah.
ones. So I have a limit. I don't try to draft more than two.
Yeah.
because you don't want to have that many on your team. It's like you want to kind of, like Colin said, you want to kind of spread it out a little bit. You want to have guys from. And now I got one question for you. Does bye weeks matter to you?
Bye weeks matter to the extent of I look at them at. I don't really look at them during a draft unless it's like a key. Like I wouldn't want to have too many quarterbacks with the same bye week because
Oh,
that's
you don't want to do that because then you'll be screwed.
so someone in the studio audience
I didn't
has
do it on
in a
purpose.
two quarterback league, two quarterbacks with the exact same bye week. I mean,
Ugh.
but they're both quarterbacks that she carried over from a previous. So it's not like she
Yeah.
planned it that way. Dynasty just worked out that way.
Oh
So
gosh.
Whoever plays me that
so
week, you'll
yeah.
win because I'm.
But to her point, the reason I don't pay a whole lot of attention to it because I'm willing to, as long as it's not set up in a way that it's going to affect me multiple weeks. I love to have all my players on one bye week because look, I just say screw that one week. I'm gonna take an L.
Take a L.
But the rest of the season, if my players are good, I'm good. So yeah, I'm with Shaq. Forget the bye weeks. I'm sacrificing that one. I want the best players
Yeah, I
on my
don't I
team.
don't really
So
care for bye weeks. Bye weeks
yeah,
don't make me hesitate go be
yeah,
like I'm hesitant to get a player. No, because
yeah,
again, if you draft well enough and you because one thing about drafting, you have to drafting is only like 10% of like what you really have to do
yeah,
during the year.
yeah,
Because the rest of it, you got to manage the team. You got to pick up players that's actually doing work that you didn't draft. That's a free agent. So at the end of the day, it's
yeah,
more like you got to manage. And if you can pick up somebody that's on your bench that can replace that guy for that
yeah.
week, you good. Like
The,
it don't matter. That weeks
the
don't
only
matter at
the
that.
only time I let bye weeks really come into play is if I'm looking at two, I think fairly equal players. Like let's say I'm in the 10th round of a draft and I'm picking between I don't know, let's say a Kendra Miller and
Mm-hmm.
a Jaden Daniels. In which case I'm like, okay, I don't know which do their bye weeks match some of my other players. And
Yeah,
then I'm like, okay, cool, cool. Jaden Daniels? Who,
Jaden Daniels,
no,
but he
that's
ain't going that far.
no, that's not him. That's not who I meant. Who's the running back for
Carolina,
oh no
Carolina,
no no
Arizona.
no Miami.
Who?
The young guy
Oh,
they
I know you're
got
talking about. I know you're
Jaden.
talking
It's
about.
Jaden something, but those what is his name? But anyway, if I have two players that I feel are very close in proximity to each other and they could produce the same kind of where I don't really have anything to pick between the two, then I'll say,
Mm,
okay, let me see where their bye weeks are, and if those bye weeks go. Jalen Wright, that's his name. Yeah,
Jalen Wright. Okay.
if I'm picking between two players like that I think are kind of equal to each other, then
Yeah.
I'll split the difference on bye weeks maybe. But otherwise, I'm with you. I don't really care too much about it.
What is the best? So you've been drafted. You've been drafted for a long time. So what is the best position number to draft from, in your opinion?
None of them, because I'm not a big. I'm always telling people I can draft from anywhere and win, and
Me
I've
too.
done it before. Now I
Me
will
too.
say in certain leagues, like the one that you keep screwing Shaq over uh,
That is not
with the
true, man.
Gridiron
Stop.
or Barbershop or True Warrior, I love to be at the top of those drafts. So if I'm in that, because this is a league that's your quarterback makes your team, like literally makes your team. And so, hey, I've been in the championship game twice in the barbershop league. One time I had the number one draft pick. The other time I had the number two draft pick. I don't think that's a coincidence. So
I
for
mean,
for that one, I prefer to be up near the front because it allows you to do a couple of little switcheroo thingies that you might not be able to do towards the back. But I've been in contention for championships
he's
everywhere,
stupid. That's
including
not
in the
true.
very back. Yeah,
Well, I don't honestly. I have one from the front. I have one from one. I won from 5. I won from 10. So my thing is, I can draft anywhere. And Shaq, I'm not screwing you over. We both watch
Yeah.
the computer pick your draft pick. I mean, geez. But if you want to think that, that's fine. I still love you, brother. Um, but me personally, I'm more of a guy that likes to draft from the back because if I'm at anything from like 5 to 10, like this year I'm at 4 in 2 leagues and I'm at 8 in a league this weekend coming
Uh-huh.
up. So I'm gonna stay where I'm at because I like my draft picks this year, kind of. But I can draft from 8 just well as 4, and I still be comfortable because it's not where you draft it; it's how you draft. So you gotta draft accordingly to if it's 2 quarterbacks, especially in our league, when you have one, that first quarterback is going to be the greatest, probably. It's going to be the top
It
quarterback
better
of the.
be, right?
It better be, yeah.
It better be.
But that second quarterback, that's a little bit shaky at that point when you saying coming around for your second quarterback because you're getting literally, if everybody would have done all quarterbacks, you're getting the 20th ranked quarterback among all of them. So you're going from your number 1 to the number 20 in your opinion. Now at 5 or 6, you're getting that middle of the pack number 5, and you're probably getting that number 15 quarterback. So it all depends on how you draft. You can draft anywhere and still win.
Oh yeah, I have the
So
one. I said in the barbershop. I've been in the championship from the 1 and the 2 spots, but in some other leagues, I've gotten in the championship all the way drafting from last place. Uh, and,
mhm.
and here's one thing. The number one consensus. We've done this. We've done the stats on this before. I have to pull them up again when I get the time. The number one consensus pick um, very rarely works out. And that's it. So
Yes.
right now, Christian McCaffrey is everybody's number one pick. They're going with, and if he does like he did last year, then that'd be great. But Christian McCaffrey's been the number one consensus pick, meaning who experts are telling you should go.
Yeah,
About half the time, it doesn't work out because of
that's
injuries,
true.
because of poor performance. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. But there's a lot of factors that say having that number one pick does not guarantee you success. And so the main thing to keep in mind is that no matter where you drafted from, there's good players. So make sure you're getting value. And I like this
Yes.
comment that Carla's talking about that she learned from the senior Jasper. It's management, and like you said, 10% of it is your draft. You have to manage
That's
that
it.
team the
You
rest
got
of
to
the
manage it.
season, making week to week updates, if you will, when you have to, keeping up with the stats and how players are performing. Watching R&J Fantasy Football Talk every week,
That's
starting in
true.
2 weeks, because we'll run through
Oh
the best
yes.
players, and seeking a wise counsel, if you will,
So
on some of those
When they
players.
suck.
Yeah, dropping players. Don't be afraid. Don't look.
that's my next
Don't
question. Like,
fall in love with any player.
so that's
Fall
my
in
next
like
question.
because you got to be
When
willing
do
to let
you
folks go.
when
Yeah.
do you well, how long are you willing to hang on to a player before you say, you know what, I can't do it no more?
It depends on where I drafted them. If I used a high draft pick, they get a little bit more leeway.
Okay.
But nobody gets 3 weeks of being poor performance in a poor performance and staying where they are. So if you were my number one pick in week 3, you haven't done anything. I'm not gonna drop you yet, but you are gonna sit down on the
It's
bench.
I ain't gonna drop you yet, but I put you on the bench though.
But you're gonna sit down until you learn your lesson. If I drafted you in like the 10th or 12th round, you might not even make it to the start of the season. You might
He
be
said,
like,
"Stop."
what?
Are you cutting them? Are you
Like, yeah,
cutting them when you leave the
you
draft?
hey, you might get cut in the preseason. If I'm
Look,
looking through the waiver wire and I see a player like, oh, nobody drafted
oh,
this guy.
what? What are you talking about? Yeah.
I,
Now,
yeah,
do you like when? Because once the teams get put in, that guy, that 17, 18 guy, it depends on how many rounds you got, but say you got 20.
uh,
That guy that's picked at 17, 16, is he getting cut? Is he getting cut immediately, or is he you gonna say, you know what, he may do something for me? Because I got a guy, and I'm gonna
Uh,
give you a name, right? He was picked in the 15th round last year. He had 100 catches and 1,000 yards.
yeah.
Would you like? Are you cutting guys as soon as the team get put in? And you say, you know what? Maybe I've seen somebody bet on a waiver wire. I'm just gonna cut him and get this guy. Are you doing that?
I I have. I'm not gonna say I've never
Okay.
done it, but I don't like a lot. Hey, we're in the you I'm pretty seeing a lot of traffic in the dynasty league since we did that draft. Uh, when was that draft? It feels like it's been
Third.
forever ago.
I think
Yeah,
it was the third.
it's the third. It's the first weekend of August. We've seen a lot of movement in that league, trades and
Yeah,
being able to
early.
pick it up. I don't like making a lot of once I draft a team, unless it's a injury that happens or maybe there's some like for instance you hear about a player maybe moving to the first team that you thought was going to be a second team player,
Mm-hmm.
maybe or if I'm just evaluating, maybe I have bias remorse because that can happen
Yeah,
too.
that
But
that definitely can happen. Buyer's
but for the
remorse.
most part, I don't like to tweak my team until I see games get played. So no, I'm not really big on that. Um, but there are exceptions. What about you?
So the reason I brought that up
Yeah.
is it was a guy that went in a 13th round of in True Warrior last year, right? He went in the 13th round. He finished 1,200 yards last year. Now most guys in that 13th
Luca?
round normally no.
Okay.
Most guys in that 13th round normally don't make the team.
Yeah.
After all the rosters are put in, they normally find somebody else and they'd be like, okay, I can take you out.
Mm-hmm.
Nico Collins was drafted in round 13.
Yeah. People were sleeping on Nico last year.
So Nico Collins
Right.
was drafted 13. Jordan Addison was drafted 12th in the 12th round. So these are, and the reason I'm saying this is you get good value at the end of the draft. Sometimes you may have to hold on to it just to see it evolve into something. So if you're telling me Jordan Addison, Nico Collins were picked 13th round, 14th round, and you got good value at that point, for me, you can't cut those guys. You got to see how the season work out first, especially week 1, week 2, week 3, and then you can kind of make that adjustment to say, all right, bet these guys ain't doing that for me.
Yeah.
So if I had to give you any advice, if you pick them late and they there, they may do some work. You don't want to kind of do that.
Well, I
So
would just say don't give up too soon, uh, especially if you're not. I say this: watch the games
yeah,
during the season, so you can kind of see this. Because sometimes a player might have a bad week, but if you've seen the game or at least watched the highlight, you might understand why they've had it.
of
So,
course.
you got to add to. I see Shaq put in watched Red Zone on Sundays. I'm not a big fan of Red Zone, but but for fantasy football, I can see how it could be beneficial, especially if you don't have a waiver wire, like
Yeah.
some of the leagues where you can just draft play. I don't. That's another thing I don't because I'm like, dang, you got to be by your phone all the time
Oh, I love
on
that.
some of these leagues. It's just like,
So yeah,
I've lost players and been on my phone trying to click it, but somebody got a notification like 20 seconds. Maybe it was someone watching Red Zone. But I actually prefer the games to the Red Zone. I've tried watching Red Zone. I can't get into it. I know everybody loves it.
well, because they only
It's too
do
much going
the
on for
red
me.
zone. They only
Yeah,
do
yeah.
from the 22 to the end
So
zone. So yeah,
yeah,
I'm gonna give you two more
me,
guys.
it's great for those with ADHD. For me, I'm
Yeah.
like I can't
Yeah.
keep track that much. I'm like, wait, weren't we just watching go to two completely different teams? But hey, there's somebody up here that got the NFL Sunday ticket, and I'm not gonna say who it is, but they've got two thumbs and they're pointing this way, and yo, I'm gonna be watching a whole lot, so y'all better watch out for me. What's your next
So
question?
I'm gonna give you two more guys that went in the 17th round, and tell me
Okay,
what you think about it.
I love them.
Raheem Must Raheem Mustard
Okay,
and Adam Thielen went in the 17th round
last year.
last year. So
Okay.
if you had to tell somebody, okay, what would you learn from that lesson as far as drafting those two guys in knowing what they did
Both
last year?
both veterans. So here's the deal. Um, the way I handle my last few rounds of a draft. Well,
Hmm.
one, I get my kicker because I don't I don't do my kickers and team defenses. I stream week to week, so those are
Yeah, we
always
don't
right there. But
we love
towards
y'all,
the
but sorry, we don't like kickers or
Nobody
defenses like
hey,
likes
that.
kickers.
but the moral of the story is, when I'm at those last few rounds, here's what I'm doing. I'm looking for consistent veterans, guys that aren't the sexy names that people are going for, but they produce
Yep,
year. That's where you would get a in years past you would get a Brandon Cooks, like I said,
that
Raheem
definitely
Mustard,
is.
fits that. Adam Thielen. These guys are known for producing. A guy I like this year who's going much later than he used to is Tyler Lockett. I actually
Yeah,
picked up Tyler Lockett in one of my drafts the other day because he was sitting there. I was like, okay, I'm willing to take a risk because he all he does is produce, and even if you're not gonna get the production that you got 5 years ago,
you
hey,
still gonna
these
get something.
guys, there's a reason they're still in the league, and so I like those. The other thing I go with is those big impact rookies that just fall by the wayside, like a Roman Wilson. Since we had a Steeler fan out here, uh, these mainly wide receivers, and maybe these running backs, like I mentioned,
Hmm.
Dylan Lobby before. I don't know how I feel about that for a redraft though. Uh, he might be worth a very late round pick,
Yeah,
but I'm filling in with these guys that can perhaps basically have high ceilings or those high floors. These kind of guys that this is the only time of the draft when I say, "Oh, I'm familiar with that name." Most of the first
yeah.
part of the draft, I say, "Hey, names are important, but don't let that be your solid basis." Towards the end,
That,
I might be more so, "Okay, I know who he is. I know he's produced." So
yes,
that's my basic strategy. So to your Adam Thielen, Raheem Mustard, I think the lesson is, hey, don't discount some of these veterans who've done it and produced in years past. Because hey, they still might have some gas left in the tank, at least to get you through a week here or there.
but I mean, it could be league winners like those two guys. Well, Raheem Mustard was among the league winners. He was high up there,
Yeah,
20, 21, 22 touchdowns. So that alone would make you say, oh, maybe I need to keep. And he was probably on that team, probably that
yeah,
person's fourth running back, fifth running back, and look what he did. So just pay attention you're because the thing is, late it'll be veterans that's been sitting there. You be like, oh Lord, I didn't know he was still here.
yeah.
And
There's always
he just it's always one or
there's
two, and
always
you
a
just got to
couple
keep
of
your eye on
there's
them.
always guys that slip through the cracks.
Yeah, so
So
I mean, just go in there like again, just do your draft. Like do your draft and have fun, man. Like that's what it's all about. Just doing what you feel is best for your team at that point. And make sure you know what you got and know the rules and all that stuff. And just go have fun. That's what it comes down to. So
just a reminder, if you haven't already done so, hit the like, hit the subscribe button.
yes.
And if you have questions, because we talked about we have drafts coming up this weekend. You got a few more days to prep for them. If you got a draft coming up, you have questions about some of the players you're looking at, feel free to throw those in the chat as well, or hit us up. You can follow us on social media, on X as it's called,
As they
uh,
call it now.
Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Carrier pigeon.
Carry
However you can get in contact
carry a
with us,
pigeon.
let us know.
Oh
We glad
gosh.
to hopefully give you some feedback on players we like. Who's
Oh
the
yeah.
player you're looking forward to drafting this weekend that you can share?
Um
Somebody, uh, 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 maybe a sleeper, or maybe just a player that you think is good enough that they should be on your radar. Uh, that maybe you think people might not be thinking of?
You know, I'm not high on like I always say I'm not high on rookies, but it's one rookie that I think because rookie running backs seem to be successful early on, maybe the first 2 years, and then they just fall off the cliff after that. So I want to say is Benson. What's his last name? Benson.
Trey Bit, I actually got him.
Trey Benson.
I got him
Arizona.
in one of the dynasty leagues. Arizona. James Conner's
Arizona.
back up.
But we all know James Conner. But you know it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
James Conner, when you want to count him out, he always does
Always,
something.
yeah.
Jeez.
He's
But I think
annoying.
Trey Benson takes. He barely is annoying.
Mainly
Trey
because
Benson is.
I actually like James Conner. I would grab him this year if I
I would
saw
get
him
him
available.
too, but it's like he's he's hurt, but he seems older than what he is.
Yeah.
So I say Trey Benson
Well,
is somebody.
here's the thing about both of these players. I love Trey Benson. Like I said, I grabbed him in the Dynasty League. I was hoping to grab him in both Dynasty Leagues, but it is what it
Mhm.
is. But James Conner has never played a full season. He always misses about 4 or 5. Now he
That
also
is true.
he did have a battle of cancer earlier in his career. He beat that, but he always ends up missing about 4 or 5 games a year.
Hmm.
And so Trey, his backup is someone you probably want to have. So and I really like Trey Benson this year. He's one of those guys I would definitely target in the later rounds of a redraft league.
So yeah, definitely him. I'm always on my George Pickens type deal. I'm a Pickens
Mm-hmm.
guy. And I just, I look for good quality players, man.
Mm-hmm.
So I ain't afraid to give it out, but it depends. Like when I get in my zone there, it's just some guys, because I ain't going to say these guys and I might not be able to get them, but it's some guys out there that I think is going to be way more productive than people think.
Yeah.
So it just depends, man. How do you feel about handcuffing?
I'm not a big handcuffer. I will do it. Um,
Hmm.
for instance, I have if I'm gonna target Nick Chubb, I
Hmm.
want to handcuff him with Jerome Ford because
Okay.
it's a situation where I know this player is not going to be around to until a certain time of the year. So something like that I might do.
Hmm.
But in
Okay.
general, here's my one rule for handcuffing: um, don't handcuff just for the sake of doing it.
Okay.
I would much rather get a quality running back at a on a different team that's maybe not
Yes.
the starter than to get the backup. For instance, if I can't tell you who the backup player is, like you say, okay,
Yeah.
let's say for instance Jonathan Taylor. I have no idea who Jonathan Taylor's backup
I have
is
no
on the
clue either.
Colts. I'm not gonna grab him just because I have Jonathan Taylor. When I could just go get a player I can maybe grab a Zach Moss from a different team,
Team. Yep.
and so hey, he has standalone value,
Okay.
not just taking a spot on my bench. Uh, if a player gets hurt, so I would definitely say handcuff carefully. Only handcuff if you can justify this player having some independent value because you might be able to get a player on a completely different team who at least gets the ball some of the time. For instance, um, I wouldn't necessarily say grab Najee Harris and Jalen Warren, um, but neither
Mm.
one of those guys is going to
So you don't
be
think that?
sitting on the bench. They both have value independently. So I might grab uh, instead of getting both of them, I like them separately. I guess that's what I'm
Now,
saying.
do
And
you
there's
do you feel
certain running
like
back by committees where I say I like these guys separate. I don't need to have them both on the same team.
what do you feel like? I feel like that's a handcuff that you probably would do just because.
Not me.
Now, I mean,
Go
I'm just
ahead.
saying, in a because both, and you can't. I wouldn't play both of them at the same time.
Yeah.
I think because they both share a 50-50 split in that offense.
Yeah,
Obviously, uh, one of them is hurt right now, so you're gonna have
you're
one
saying
of
that
the
it's
other.
Najee season.
Najee maybe that
It's
guy.
Najee
Yeah,
season, baby.
Najee may be that guy. Okay, not Najee may. I mean, Najee got like 2-3 weeks by himself now,
It's
so
Najee time.
hey, maybe
That's
some
what I
Najee.
heard.
We know how you know how you feel about Najee over here,
Yeah,
but
that's my dude. That's my dude.
now, do you handcuff Najee now? Probably not, because he has a little bit more value
Mm-hmm.
because the other guy's hurt, so you can do that. Now, do you handcuff a quarterback situation?
I almost had a handcuff for Jalen Hurts until I realized Kenny Pickett's awful, and so I let him go. There's some quarterbacks I would handcuff,
Mm.
maybe with their backup, like a Joe Burrow who gets hurt every year. He's knock on wood coming out of it. Lamar Jackson used to get hurt all the time, so
Yeah.
I would definitely try to have like their kind of backups. But in general, I'd have that same mentality if I can get a quarterback from a different team. Maybe I was trying to get the handcuff uh,
Mm.
uh, Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew because I wasn't really sure
Wasn't sure.
who's going to be the starter in
Makes
that
sense.
case, or if it's a player where I know they're going to miss some time. Uh,
Mm.
for instance, if I had a Deshaun Watson, he always misses time since he's been
See,
back. I'd have a,
yeah,
I might go with a Jameis Winston, or the truth is, I might handcuff your quarterback. Like if I see you pick up a Geno Smith, for instance, and I know that situation can be kind of iffy,
yeah,
I might grab Sam Howell. One, because hey, he's a potential for maybe being a starter, and two, if something goes wrong on your end, hey, I've got a trade piece to offer you.
and
So,
that's true
sometimes I don't grab the handcuff for my team. I might try to grab the handcuff on somebody else's team if I got a strong feeling for them.
I mean that is definitely true, because if you think about it, if you know that situation is not the strongest as far as who is gonna be the guy, or he possibly could lose his job, somebody may snipe you for that backup just to say, you know what, you're gonna come calling because you may need this quarterback,
Yeah,
because either he's gonna get benched or he's gonna get hurt, and you're gonna be in a situation where you're gonna have to give up something to get something. So,
yeah.
and that's the bad part. But it's hard to really handcuff a quarterback unless you go back to back in order to get that quarterback,
Yeah.
and that's just hard to do in
The,
my
the
opinion.
the other thing to be leery of with handcuffing is just because they're going to be the starter doesn't mean they're going to be good. There's a
Yeah.
reason that person might be a backup. Case in point, uh, Shuba Hubbard was
Yes.
the backup, uh, uh, and he's gotten in games and looked bad. One of the famous backups was always Alexander Madison, um,
Terrible most
and
games.
every once in a while it might work for you, but then yeah, you know, you see, you know what, this person is not as good of a running back or wide receiver or a quarterback
As
as
I
the
thought.
person in front of them. So
Yep.
you know, you gotta also just say, are these players good? For instance, Daniel Jones' backup is Drew Lock.
Ooh.
I don't want either one of them. Like so,
Is it Drew Lock? Is it, or is it Danny
is
DeVito?
it Danny DeVito? Yeah, could be. His name's
It
not
might be
Danny
Danny
DeVito. Yo.
DeVito.
Yeah, it could be bad. But the point is, I don't care who it is. I don't want any quarterback playing for the Giants. So I'm not gonna again just don't handcuff for the sake of handcuffing. Try to handcuff when you see some actual value in the other player,
So,
because
but
it
this
is
is
going to
see,
eat
but
up
this
a
is my
spot on
thing.
your. It is going to eat up a spot on your bench, and so you might be able to get, let's say, oh, here's the handcuff I would do,
Okay.
or I might snipe you on the handcuff. Justice Hill, with the Ravens. Um,
Okay.
Derrick Henry's going to eat a lot. Um, but if something were to happen, Justice Hill would be the next guy up. And Harbaugh's already saying that Justice Hill is going to play a lot in the offer. He catches out the backfield, so there's a spot for him. So
Okay.
if you're gonna play the handcuff game, do your research. Make sure it's a handcuff worth grabbing.
I would say Pollard and Pollard
Pollard
is
and Tajay Spears.
Target Spears is one.
That's another good one too
That's
because
a good one to
they
target.
both have independent value. So
Yeah.
that's another.
So now I know, and this is more of a question for for you personally, because I know you. I know you have a do not draft list. But would you advise anybody to have a do not draft list in
I would
fantasy?
augment that by saying I have a do not draft at current value list
No, you
because
have a do not draft list.
let's see, how many players are there that I would absolutely not draft under it? Because for instance, Baker Mayfield was on is a guy who stays
Oh,
on
he's
my
off your list now.
do not draft list, but I found myself needing a Baker Mayfield
Okay, okay,
a
okay,
year ago. So the the, the 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 only time a player is on my certainly do not draft list if they've
okay.
done something. First, I'm not gonna shy away from it. Deshaun Watson is on my do not. I under
I
no
knew it. I
circumstances
knew it.
want
He has
Deshaun
a
Watson on my team. Okay,
he has
so
a
I
do
do
not
have a
draft
do
list,
not
y'all.
draft list. It's a
He
soft.
has one. He has one.
I do have one. Uh, uh,
He has one. I told you.
the,
He
the
got one.
the
I
guy
know
dead
you.
the guy dead to me was on my do not draft list for many
Okay.
years when he was Odell Beckham Jr. is on my do not draft list because
Okay.
at this
Okay.
point in his career I'm like nah I'm good.
Your list is getting long.
Okay, so I
Yes, it
have a list.
is. It's
Hey,
just.
hey.
I'm just asking. I mean, from a personal, because I know that you have one, and I know. Would you advise somebody to not have
Okay,
a do not draft list?
there's certain players that are not worth their names, for instance. So okay,
Okay, hold up. The better hold up.
but the
No, 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 no,
better
no.
thing is,
Okay, okay.
for certain for instance, uh, I would not have a I just don't like this guy. I'm not drafting him player
Wait a minute here.
unless hold on
Wait a minute. I don't know about
no
that.
let me word this right. Let me word this right. Uh,
Okay.
there are certain players that I typically would not draft, but if they fail to the right place, I would consider them.
No,
Them.
wait a minute. That's not the way that works. I know you.
Yes, yes.
You're not telling the truth up here. So, how does people make your do not draft list?
By being evil in all sorts. Oh, well, I don't think they're worth it. For instance, here's the players. Let's go with the players I've already said. We can rewind
Okay.
the tape.
Okay.
Deshaun Watson is on my do not draft list, and the reason he got there is because in the multiple years he's been back from his hiatus, if you will, from the league
Mhm.
for whatever
Okay.
reason he was there. His backup has always looked better than him.
Okay.
So that's a guy I'm not gonna waste a draft pick because I feel these guys are gonna go higher than I'm willing to pay. Odell Beckham Jr. has been on my do not draft list for a while because people like him more than I think he's worth.
Okay.
So a guy gets on my do not draft list when I feel their value has exceeded the amount of talent I'm going to get in return.
Why
But
is it?
what first?
No, hold up.
Hold on.
We're
Let
gonna
me
go
hit
to the
this.
question, but
No,
we're gonna
look,
get back to this.
we've got Chandler here.
Okay, hey,
Chandler
How you doing, Chandler?
Casino,
What's going on,
welcome
man?
to the show. Glad to have you with us. I
Like and
don't want to
subscribe,
ignore
please.
him. By the way, Jackson Wilson Senior, see how I'm weaseling my way out of this.
Yes, I
Yeah, you
see.
really are.
By
Doing
the
well.
way,
You're not
yeah,
doing it well.
Jackson Wilson Senior said it's difficult to not handcuff a two quarterback leagues. It can be, but Chandler has a question. He has pick two in an 18 man. That's the thick league. I play in a 16 team league. I have played in an 18
Gosh,
before. That's
jeez,
hard.
that's
Um,
tough there.
should they go Tyreek Hill, Lamb, or Brees Hall or Bijan? One quarterback PPR. I got my pick for that.
That's tough. That's tough.
Those are all great choices.
Yeah, that's tough there.
You assume
I'm
CMC is going to be the number one pick,
yeah,
like we said earlier in most leagues. Who do you go with next?
I'm gonna go. This might sound crazy, but I'm gonna go Brees Hall.
I'm not mad
I'm
at
gonna
you.
go. I'm gonna go Brees because with the number 2 pick, I love Lamb, but that contract dispute scares me.
That's
I'm not don't I don't want to. If I get Lamb and Lamb is not there for me the first couple weeks, 3 4 weeks, and it turns to something more serious, then it's like you wasted a pick. Tyreek Hill is always the one you like. That's a good pick, but
yeah.
I just feel like you're gonna get a lot from Brees Hall. And I go on record and say I feel like Brees Hall is gonna be your fantasy number one running back this year over CMC. Because I just feel like he's gonna do so much for that team. So I would say Brees Hall for me, but this is hard. If I was in your shoes, bro, I don't know. I would have to take all 2 minutes. Promise you. I don't know how long y'all take, but I'm taking
the
all two
whole
minutes.
the whole time, huh?
I got the whole time.
Look at it. I love all of these choices because these are the guys I think you should be considering. So Chandler's already done their homework. It's an 18 team league, and here's why I say I'm actually gonna agree with you. I love Tyreek Hill. I think he produces every year, and he's going to be the main cog in that Miami offense.
Mm-hmm.
But in an 18-man league, and this also has to go kind of your preference in drafting because we've seen now a sort of switch where people it used to be no question about it. You're taking a running back with that higher
What
pick,
about yeah?
right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of been a shift, and I'm gonna sort of date my drafting strategy because I still believe that with those first early picks, you have to get something that you're not going to be able to get later. And as much as
Which
I
is Brees
love
Hall.
CeeDee Lamb, and as much as I love Tyreek Hill, there are many more good wide receivers than there
Mm-hmm.
are good running backs. And in an 18-man league, uh, those running backs are going to be gone, and so you don't have another. You might not get Tyreek Hill, because that's got to go all the way 18 and then bounce back
Can
to you.
bounce. Yeah, that's crazy.
You're not going to get a Tyreek Hill. You're probably not going to get a CeeDee Lamb or a Justin Jefferson or a Jamar Chase or
Yeah.
a Sun God, but you can get a very productive wide receiver. When they bounce back, that's good lord. That's 18 man lead.
Well, think
That's
about
long,
it.
but just to end my point, you're not gonna maybe get that high quality of a wide receiver, but the drop off from the number two
Ooh,
or
it's
three
huge,
wide
boy.
receiver to what you're gonna get back versus the drop off from the number two
Run
running
back.
back to what you're gonna get back by the time you get another shot. You're done. If in an 18-man league, this is your one shot to get a stud running back,
Yeah.
and I would use it on either Brees Hall or
Or
Bijan
be
Robinson. And
yeah.
between the two of them, I'm with you. I like Brees Hall a little bit more.
And think about it. If you look at the total number of receivers that went over 1,000 yards last year, I want to say the number was 28.
Yeah, it was
It
in
was
the 20s.
28. It
It was
was
a lot.
28
It was a lot.
receivers that went over 1,000 yards. So you're not going to get a lamb like he
Yeah,
said when you come back around, but you're going to get a quality receiver, or you can get two quality
yeah,
receivers to kind of supplement that lamb pick.
yeah,
Now, but with Bijan, you're getting probably the either best or the second best running
yeah,
back in that order. So definitely, I'm sorry, Brees. I'm going
yeah,
Brees in this situation because Brees is going to give you. He's going to catch the ball out the backfield, and he's going to give you that running.
yeah.
And I feel like they're going to lean on him a lot this year just because of the fact that you got old Aaron
You
Rodgers out
got
there.
old Aaron. Right.
So it's going to be a lot of dump offs between, and the only two guys on that team is probably going to get work is Garrett Wilson and Brees Hall. Those are the only two that's
Yeah.
going to get real work this year. So if I'm you, I'm taking that and I'm running to the board and getting Brees, and then because I'm thinking about because you got a long way to go before you got another pick.
Yeah.
So you want to get that best player for you, which is probably Brees in my opinion, to go. Because at running back you have your five, and then there's a huge drop off. Maybe your
Yeah.
six,
You
and there's
got
a drop off
two,
after.
and then you're at number 35 going with your next pick. Like I said, there's multiple wide receivers that can get you 1,000 yards. there's not multiple running backs that can get you all
Yeah.
purpose at, and so I don't think you can go wrong Bijan or Brees. But I lean towards Brees Hall. I think he's going to have a dynamite season.
Yeah.
I don't think Christian McCaffrey's going to be the number one running back. I know he's everybody's consensus number one pick.
I think it's
I
gonna be
don't
Brees.
think he's going to be the number one running back this year. So I'm going. I'm going to put my money on Brees Hall. So thanks for the question, Chandler. We appreciate it. If you haven't already, hit that like, hit that
Like,
subscribe for us.
subscribe, please.
We
Appreciate
got
it.
Atlanta Flag Football Podcast joining us. Good to have you with us as well. Am I still wheezing out of your question, or
I just want to
are you
know.
coming back to it?
I want to know why you don't like why you put Antonio Brown. I know you don't want to say his name, but I'm gonna say
Who?
it for you.
I don't know
Yeah,
who that
don't
is.
say who.
I've never
Say
heard of
who.
him.
Who you hear me now? Huh? Why you put Antonio Brown on your list, man?
I'm not sure who that is. I said dead to me, but he's not even in the league anymore. So
I'm just saying, like, if like,
I'm just saying historically, a person who has been on my do not draft list, he know what he did.
you know what he did.
He knows what he did.
I don't know, man. What did he do,
He
man?
knows. That's all. That's
I
all.
mean, everybody got now. Nobody will tell you they got to do not draft list, but everybody has a person that they just kind of stay away from every year, and you be like, you don't want to draft that player.
Who's on your no draft list since you asking about mine?
Who's on my no draft list?
Let me ask you this:
Rookie.
is Brock Purdy on your draft list this year? I know he wasn't last
Mm-mm.
year. He
He's
still
on my
can't get
draft.
on your squad.
Oh no. Mm-mm. See, I ain't gonna say he on the new do not draft list. He's just
Mm-hmm.
not a player that I would like. I was like that with Jimmy. I wouldn't draft Jimmy. Like, nothing against Jimmy, but I wouldn't draft Jimmy. I didn't like Jimmy as a fantasy player
Okay.
because I mean we don't throw the ball enough. First of all, that's just number one. So he can't make my list, and it's not many like yours. Your list is very long. You're just not telling
It's
these
not that
people.
long. It's
Yes, it
only a
is.
few. I came up with what 3 or 4 names,
Yeah, that's what you telling me.
and
But
one of those players is retired anyway, so I don't think my list is
okay.
that long.
Oh, your list is long. You just don't
This
want to
is
tell them. It's okay though. Hey, look, I get it. You don't want to kind of put your business out there, but we know
I
it's some
don't think
players
my
you don't
list is
like
that long.
drafting.
It
So
was
it
kind of long.
is long.
I'm gonna need you to pick a side producer.
I mean, she's just telling the truth. The list is long now.
It's not that long.
Okay, all right, all right.
It can fit on a post-it. I have a post-it list of players I'm not drafting,
That's a
and
long list.
I write small.
So all right, oh Lord have mercy. Oh, I don't really have a list. It's just guys that I just don't draft. Like I don't draft rookies. I stay away from them.
I love rookies.
I don't.
Rookies can be the foundation of a well, not the foundation.
I
They
did
can be
that
the
one year.
cherry on the top of a really
Well, I
good
would say
team.
that I got screwed one year doing that.
Well, that's because you drafted like 8 of them.
I did draft 8 of them, didn't
Yeah,
I? I
you
was
went overboard. I don't
well, I
think
was doing. I was trying something new. Okay,
Yeah.
I was trying something new. All right. I think I had just had a kid, and I was trying something new, and I was like, man, I'm gonna just change it up. I'm gonna change the game.
Here's a question. Here's a guy. Is this guy on your draft list? Ezekiel Elliott.
Ooh. Um. Maybe
Maybe.
not. I don't know because it just depends. Like I don't like Zeke. One thing about Zeke is gonna get you. He's gonna get you touchdowns because he's gonna get that goal line touches.
Run with dope.
It's in between the 20. The 20s is the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Is what he's gonna do between. I feel like there's a running back there that may take a lot of that role. It's somebody that's gonna be the Tony Potter of that offense this year.
Is his
We
name
just
Deuce
don't know.
Vaughn?
I don't know. Maybe it is Deuce Vaughn,
I kind of like
but
Deuce.
I'm pretty sure you like Deuce.
I
Deuce is
kind of
on your
like
list.
Deuce.
So you think Deuce is gonna be the Pollard of this year of past years for Dallas?
I don't know if he reaches Pollard levels, but I think
Because
he
Pollard
might
came
do.
out of nowhere.
Yeah, he
Remember
might
that.
do some work though.
So
I will say this: when they announced they were bringing Ezekiel Elliott back, I was like, "That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. There's no way I would draft him." There is I think an avenue where I would add him to one of my teams, but it would have to be so. There's certain players that aren't on my very short do not draft list,
That's a big
but
Hmm.
old post-it.
but they are, but they are.
God, it's getting long by the hour. Boy, I tell you, Lord have mercy, it is
Anyway,
getting long.
my point
It's
being,
getting long.
there are a lot of players that are not necessarily on my do not draft list, but they are
Okay,
on my I hope someone beats me to it list. Whereas
that means you're not drafting them.
it's like I will draft them, but I hope someone else takes that because it's sometimes like, look, I would rather someone else be wrong on this one than me
Like,
have to hope I'm right on. So I think there's a chance that Ezekiel Elliott has a decent fantasy football season, but I'm hoping someone else takes him off the board
so
before
he's
I'm left
not
with that
on your do
opportunity.
not draft
He's not on
list.
my do not draft post it. Uh, but
Okay,
but
all right.
he's a guy I would say I'm hoping someone else drafts instead of me.
Show that book you got again. That book
This is
beside
look.
you.
None of those players mentioned are in the book.
They're not in that book, y'all.
They're not in the book.
It's a page for that. I promise you in that book.
No, there's
See,
not a. I don't have to write down my do not draft list
oh
because
yes, you do.
no,
It's
I
that
don't.
long. Yeah.
Everyone that is in my do not draft posted
Okay.
is right up here. I don't even have to think of that. Their names have been stricken, much like Moses in the Ten
Oh no,
Commandments.
not
I
that.
don't.
Are you gonna stab now?
I might.
Really?
The,
Get.
the names cannot be spoken. Is what I'm
Uh,
saying.
I'm just saying, man.
I don't
Like
have to write it down.
I'm just trying to figure out, because the good people want to know. Like they want to know. Everybody. Like
Here's
I
the
don't feel that way about players. It's just
okay. Since you, I'm gonna put you on Anthony Richardson. All right, would you draft Anthony Richardson as your quarterback?
yes, yes. I have nothing against Anthony Richardson. I think he's now. Would I make him my number one pick? Definitely not. We're not
Nobody
doing
does.
that. No. Now, if I have to on a come around, maybe draft him. Depends on the option. Then probably, yeah, I take him. But it's not a list. He's
He's
not
lying.
saying
Okay,
he's
Lamar
what?
Jackson or Anthony Richardson. Who are you drafting first?
Anthony Richardson. Now, I don't draft Lamar. That is
Mm-hmm.
one I don't draft. So
Thank you.
yeah, I don't draft Lamar. Now, I don't even think about drafting Lamar. That's the crazy part. He holds no value
Shameful.
with me.
Shameful.
How's the shameful?
Shameful.
Are you drafting Lamar?
Yes, given where I'm going to be drafting from
Woo.
in one of those leagues, I would definitely draft Lamar Jackson
Mm.
because I'm going to be in the back in the league you're talking about. That turnaround where he could be he's the
Hold
defending
on, hold on,
MVP.
hold on. Deshaun Watson or Daniel Jones?
You're not drafting either one of those either. So I'm not.
No, you gotta answer the question. Deshaun Watson or Daniel Jones?
I would cut off my drafting finger before I put on press the button for either one of those. There's
Hold
no
on.
chance either one of those gets off. I would say Jameis Winston is my answer to those
He
two.
said Jameis.
Yes, I'm drafting.
So you need a second quarterback, and you have to pick one. And those are
those
you
guys
got
are going to be so far down anyone's fantasy. Those are like fourth quarterbacks in the two quarterback league. Those are like fourth quarterbacks. And if I had to pick between those two guys, then I'm gonna say hopefully Malik Neighbors makes Daniel Jones look somewhat decent.
Oh gosh. Okay. I mean, okay. Back to being serious now, y'all. We like having fun, by the way. How do you feel about quarterbacks coming off an injury?
Like Kirk Cousins and Aaron Rodgers, maybe.
Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers, Kyler Murray.
I like Kyler Murray this year.
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
he has, and it has 98% to do with Marvin Harrison and Trey
Okay.
McBride.
Okay.
I like him. I like Kirk Cousins coming off because Kirk is Captain Kirk is just that reliable dude. He's
Okay.
like for me, he's a fantasy football deity. I am not big on Aaron Rodgers coming back off
Hold
his
on,
knee.
wait a minute now.
I
Wait a
know, I know.
minute.
You are the number
Wait a
one Aaron
minute.
Rodgers hater in the world.
Wait. That's
But
not true.
yeah,
That's not true.
we've got the film.
What? I'm always right about it though.
Notice how the
I've
producer's
called.
not coming to my defense on this one. I
Oh,
just
he
want to
got
say
mad
that.
hate on Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
But wait a minute.
So,
Wait a minute.
like,
I've
like,
always been right about Aaron Rodgers though.
no, you have not
I've been
always
right.
been right about Aaron. You,
Wait a
you're,
minute.
you're, you're, you're right that he's a major doofus and
It wasn't even
jerk.
about that. It was about the fact that when he lost, when he was in Green Bay, and I said this on record on this show, that once he lost his top receiver, that he was going to go down to 39, 4,000 yards maybe. Was I right about that?
I don't remember. That's not
That's
that's
roll the
not the
tape.
argument that I'm having right now.
I'm
My,
not a hater. I'm not a hater.
That's my point. That
I'm not a hater.
what his stats are. My point is that you always discredit uh, Aaron Rodgers. But this year, I am also just I don't. People have the idea that Jets team is going to be really good. They
Mm-hmm.
were really bad a year ago, and not
Okay.
only because of Zach Wilson. They have a very good defense. They have some questionable coaching decisions,
Mm-hmm.
and they have talent on offense, but I don't think enough for me to say, because there's people that says the Jets are going to be Super Bowl contenders this year. Um,
Mm.
I think it would be a hard time for them to make the playoffs because in their
Wow.
division they're not going to be better, I think, than the Dolphins. I don't think they're going to be better than the Bills. I think the Bills are going to be surprisingly good to some people this year.
Wow.
They're definitely going to be better than the Patriots because the Patriots are going to be hot garbage. Um,
Okay.
but the AFC is tough. I don't
It is.
see. I don't see the Jets. If they're making the playoffs, they're like barely backing into the playoffs, and it won't be on the strength of Aaron Rodgers. At least not his arm like he was in those years with the Packers. He's at this point more of the. You remember John Elway at the end of his year? I mean his career.
Definitely.
You know, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He was still able to win games and make good decisions, but that running game is what made those Broncos teams Super Bowl winners. Um,
And that's why I said Brees Hall.
If Brees Hall can
Yeah.
do that, I think the Jets will be good. I don't think that makes them as good as the other teams in the AFC. They're not going to be better than, like I said before, the Bills or the Dolphins. They're definitely not going to be up to the level of the Chiefs or even, I think, if he's healthy, the Bengals or Browns.
Okay.
Uh, those are the kinds of teams I think are going to be. I say this. I throw the Steelers somewhat in that mix,
The Steelers always
just
back
because
in.
the Steelers
They
are
know
always like right there.
they always
Um,
back in. So yeah, I'll give you that.
it's going to be hard for me to see them being better than any of those teams. I don't think they're going to be better. Let me not discount the Texans, who I think are the real.
Problem. Yeah,
They're going to be a problem.
they're gonna be a problem.
I think this year.
Problem. Mm-mm-mm.
So
That's gonna be a problem.
so
Now,
yeah,
speaking of the Texans, who ends up number one receiver wise on that team? Because they got a bunch of them.
they have the deepest wide
Yo,
receiver
they got
group.
so many receivers, bro. Like who is that? Who ends up as the number one receiver in your opinion?
I think it's Nico again. I mean, for me, it's got to be between Nico and Stephon Diggs.
Okay,
I think it's but Tank Dell is really
Tank
good
Dell is
as
awesome too.
well.
Yeah,
Um,
that's tough.
you,
That's a tough
you,
one.
I'm gonna put my money on Nico,
Me too.
um,
Me too.
being the number one dog. But he and Stephon, Stephon still's got it. You know what I'm saying? The issue with him was, he was disconnected from that team. Um, and
Can they have
that's
three?
and
Can they
they
have three?
he always has a couple of years where
of
he
good behavior.
runs really of good behavior,
Good behavior.
and then stuff on there falls apart. You know who I forgot about was on the Texans until this last week, I think, John Mechie.
Yep,
You
I
know,
was about to say
like
that, John. They have a lot of receivers.
I was like, goodness gracious.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, but this is my thing now. I think you're right,
yeah,
but is it any way they have 3,000-yard receivers?
I think that's gonna be tough. I think they definitely can have two, and
Hmm.
they have another one that's gonna be probably around 800.
So Tank Dell around about 800, 900 yards. I think he can get all-purpose though.
Possibly.
All-purpose.
That team, I think, is the strongest contender to the Chiefs. Those Texans are going to be really interesting to watch.
Yes.
Uh,
Mm. Yes, they are. They're gonna be tough. They're gonna be fun to watch, but they're gonna be tough for opponents because CJ Stroud's that good. He's really that good, and he's gonna another year together with those guys, especially like Nico and Tank Dell. It's gonna be out of this world. Diggs is the wild card, but I think Diggs first 2 years he's gonna be professional, and then
yeah,
when he can't get the ball in that third year, but I don't even think he makes it to a third year to be honest with you, because he only got him for 1 year
yeah,
this year. So I think it's more of a rental. I don't think it's a long term.
I agree.
So it's really supposed to be Nico Tank Dell, but you see if you got the chance of getting Diggs, why not for this 1 year and then you kind of make it work for this 1 year and then you because Diggs is trying to rebuild his own career
Yeah,
at this point.
and that's
So
why he's going to be
on his best
100%
behavior,
on his best behavior.
yes. So therefore, I think at the end of the day, they're gonna be good and they're gonna be scary, and I think they're gonna challenge. Probably they're gonna be between them and Kansas City, one and
Right.
two in the AFC.
Well, our next show is in 2 weeks, and we're gonna have our bold predictions. So we'll run down what we have, not just for our fantasy football predictions, but what we see happening in the NFL season. We typically do our division winners and run straight through who's gonna be the team standing. So
So we'll see.
we'll see how it
But
goes.
but we appreciate y'all watching. We appreciate y'all really, really do. And let's just make this a good year, man. Like let's make it a good year.
Yeah.
Let's get these subscribers up, Let your friend know. Let your friend know.
Tell your
Hey,
friends,
tell
tell your
everybody.
friends. I think the challenge the last time we did was everyone get like 100 Google accounts and
Yeah,
subscribe to
something.
RJ
Yeah.
Fantasy Football Talk and all of them.
Tell
Uh,
100 people or something. Like we try to get these
so
numbers up.
so
We
this
try
is
to stop working people. This
yeah.
is trying to be a full-time job now. We need some sponsors or something.
There we go. Hey, Buffalo Wild Wings will be there this
Yes.
weekend. So
We may because I know we did it a couple years ago when we recorded the
yeah,
draft and put it. We may do that again, y'all. We may
yeah.
surprise y'all.
Post a little clip so y'all
Little
can see
clip.
behind the scenes. Y'all will get to see what's actually in this notebook of power right here. But everybody
Yeah.
happy drafting. Hope you all have a very successful time. Let us come back
Yes.
2 weeks. Let us know how your drafts went, and we'll talk about the end of preseason and the beginning of it because we're coming back in 2 weeks, and then the actual NFL season starts the very next day. So we'll run
Yes.
down those games and let y'all know who we ended up drafting and what we see happening in that first week.
And Jasper will have his big O posted.
See, that wasn't even necessary.
What, Lord? I'll let y'all know if he had it there because
Look,
I can tell you. I can tell you how it's gonna go. I'm gonna be on one end of the room, and he's gonna be on the other end of the
I'm gonna
room.
be right beside you.
Please don't.
While
You're not gonna be beside me.
while you're trying to eat fried pickles and whatever other stuff
You're
you
not
get over there, and I'm going to say I'm gonna tell you who you drafted, and I'm gonna be
No,
right
you can't. I already know where you're
100%
gonna sit.
of the time.
I know where you're gonna sit. You're gonna walk in. You're gonna sit to the right where you normally sit, and I'm gonna sit to the left. And then he gonna look at me and
We'll
say,
meet in the middle.
"We meet in the middle somewhere." So And Sydney go try to get pictures of me actually thinking like I'm looking at something, and I'm gonna turn around and smile because she always catches me that way. So yeah, it works that way.
We're
I'm
gonna
good
work
with
it
that.
out. We're gonna work it
Yeah,
out.
we work it out. But we
So
appreciate y'all. Thank you.
yes,
Appreciate you.
indeed.
Really
Good
do.
luck, everybody. Can't
Good
wait to see
luck.
y'all in a couple. Take it easy.
All right.
Peace.